We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. And make sure you ring that notification bell. If you want to support this independent national college football's rebel outpost with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that dollar sign where you make a comment. And I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Well, it is Monday, May 18th. We said the next couple of weeks were going to be drama-filled. Ross Dellinger comes out with a report early this morning. Bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. The breakaway talks have intensified. They haven't lessened. They haven't drifted off in the background. There is no kumbaya. We've been at DEFCON 1 from... Oh, great. We're not at DEFCON 1, Greg. Nah. Greg the Grifter. We're not. There's no drama going on. Don't you know, Greg, we got this new governance. 65% here, 20. Whatever. We're okay. This is just part of, negotiations. It's just another threat, Greg. It's just another empty threat. SEC's not going anywhere. The Big Ten's not going anywhere. No one's going anywhere, Greg. Well, I don't know what to tell you. I do not know what... Look, I have been Paul Revere without the horse because no horse could withstand the fat guy from Minnesota. But I am the modern day Paul Revere. I have been riding through PATC country, riding through college football country, saying we got to stay together. We got to figure out this 2014 playoffs. We are together. We have to stay together. Well, we are at the precipice of the SEC going, we're out of here. And the Big Ten is going to follow right along. I mean, this is May 18th. This is not SEC spring meetings. This is Big Ten spring meetings. And the Big Ten people are saying, this doesn't work for us, brother. This House settlement is killing us. Look, the CSC is killing us. That's what they're saying. Before we go on, can I just remind everybody something? Once again, we are the NCAA. We are the CSC. We're the ones that signed on the dotted line for the House settlement. We are the ones that created the NCAA decades ago. We are the ones that created the Deloitte Clearinghouse, the CSC. We are the disaster. We are the disaster. We created these entities. And we can't get out of it. We're not going to be, like the House lawyer said, we're not going to be able to get out of the settlement. We cannot just walk away. We told you that as well here at Peek Around the Corner. This isn't going away. You can't just wish this away. You got to pay the $2.4 billion, whatever it is. And if you don't, now, what the House lawyer did say in that Ross Dellinger article is The SEC and the Big Ten, they can break away as long as they do not harm the settlement. As long as they do not harm the settlement, they can break away. Now, let's not get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of hurdles to breaking away. There's going to be the political backlash, the political nightmare if the SEC and the Big Ten breaks away. You gotta create your own enforcement arm. You gotta create staff. You gotta do all this stuff. And you don't even know if the schools are gonna follow the rules even if you do that. But what is the options? What is the options at this point? There's even some talk in this Ross Dillinger article that maybe, just maybe, there's people in the Big Ten and the SEC, not a majority, but some believe that we have to go to a collective bargaining agreement. But a collective bargaining agreement within each conference, within each sport. So maybe going to the breakaway is the right thing to do. Maybe going into the silo is the right thing to do. To create some protection, some antitrust violation protection. Maybe this is the right course. So Greg, what are you worrying about? Greg, what are you screaming about? This is what I'm worried about. This is exactly what I'm worried about. We go into our own silos. And don't get it wrong. If we do that, it's going to supply this channel with enough content to last us forever, or that for the next couple of years. We've already got enough content here at College Football Peek Around the Corner. We do live shows almost every single day, plus videos, plus early peek around the corner episodes for members. We got enough content. We don't need this, but we're getting it. We are getting it. This is what I do not want to happen. And I know a lot of people disagree with me on this. Within the SEC, within the Big Ten, what if the Southeastern Conference goes silo and they do their own, they do SEC only competition? They only play each other. What if they go to 12 conference games? Or what if they go to 10 conference games but have 2 other conference games against G5 opponents, G6 opponents? What if the Big Ten follows suit? What if you have a regular season SEC only competition, Big Ten only competition, and then they do their playoffs separately? They have separate champions. What if that happens? That's not good for the sport. That's not good for the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who still are not taking this seriously, there is no more other words to say. There might not be a breakaway, but I can tell you after months and months of the reports that are public and the reports that are not public and the chatter behind the curtain, as we have reported to you all, this stuff is all very real. This is real. This is real. Please take it as a real deal Holyfield situation. There is a lot of hurdles to make that work. A lot of hurdles. And we're going to go through some of those today. But this is real. This is a threat, but it's not a false threat. They're working on this. They've been working on a break. I went to a movie today. Thank you, Buckeye Greg, for being an early P Cloak and Dagger member once again. I appreciate it, Buckeye Greg. Thank you so very much. You are hereby once again knighted Cloak and Dagger. Thank you very much. Buckeye Greg. I went to a movie today. Okay? I went to a movie today. And I went with the Little General. It was her choice. She's the one who picked the movie. So we went to see The Devil Wears Prada. The Devil Wears the Dress. Prada the Dress. The Devil Wears Meryl Streep movie. Somebody put down the title of that name. Put it in the yes. We went to a matinee. 1:10 at the Rogers Theater in Minnesota. Rogers Theater, 1:10, 1:10 screening. The Devil Wears Prada. Okay. We went to that movie. Okay? So, we did an episode early this morning. If you missed it, shame on you. We did episode 501. We'll go over that. The Big Ten is totally aligned for the college football playoffs of 24 teams. If you missed it, go back and watch episode 501. That was earlier today. I did that episode, dropped the episode. I talked to a few people. Then the Ross Dellinger article broke, and we're going to go through that. It's a long article, but we're going to go through it. Not every word of it, but we're going to go through it. This is serious. We are on the precipice here, guys and gals. We are. It's all hanging in the balance. So I'm sitting there, and I know the Little General wants to see a movie. First, we got to go. We picked out a couple more plants. And then we went to see the movie. But I have digested the Ross Dellinger article. I have been on the phone talking with people. And so I go see this Devil Wears Prada. And I did not see one. Devil Wears Prada. One. Don Scruggs never let a woman pick the damn movie, Greg. I've been married for 24 years, and one of the tips is to, yes, have your wife pick the movie once in a while. Yes. But we're watching the movie, and again, I didn't know what the plot was. I did not see the first one. We're watching it. I'm starting to catch on. And they're talking about consolidation of digital, whatever, like the luxury brand, like the fashion, digital companies, magazines. They're talking about the consolidation. One's trying to merge with the other. One's trying to buy out the other. I really could not stick with the plot. But that was it. And I'm sitting there and I'm like thinking about college football as I'm watching the Devil and the whatever that Devil Wears Prada. And I'm sitting there in a darkened theater. There's 4 people in there, 2 older people in back of me and the Little General. And I'm sitting there thinking about college football. And in the movie, they're saying everything's being consolidated. Everything's being narrowed down to what, and I'm sitting there going, yep, it's happening in college football. The forces of consolidation is still fierce. And not being able to govern 138 FBS teams, not even being able to get 68 teams on board, the Southeastern Conference, basically they're at the point where we've got no options left. There is no options. This is ungovernable. This is ungovernable. So we're going to go alone. We are truly thinking about breaking away. And the Big Ten is as well. So that is where we are today. The economics consolidation is fierce. Absolutely fierce. Greg Sankey is the Meryl Streep of college football. Saving Private Ryan. Okay. Let's see here. So, we're going to talk about the Ross Dellinger article. The implications, we can guess what some of those are, but we really do not know where we're going with this. This is uncharted waters. And I got to tell you, we still have not heard, as of right now, as of 5:51 p.m. Central Time, May 18th, I haven't heard. I have not heard the support for the Cruz and Cantwell bill from the SEC of the Big Ten. We have heard that support from the Big 12 and the ACC, but we have not heard that support from the Big Ten and the SEC. We're getting to the point, ladies and gentlemen, where I fear for the Big 12. I fear for the ACC. I fear for the Big Ten and the SEC because I don't know if this breakaway is going to work. But again, if they break away, this is going to hurt, at least in the short term, the Big 12 and the ACC more, I believe. Let me know how wrong I got it, but let me know in the chat room. But man, oh man, we are on the precipice. I've been fighting like heck, supporting G6 playoff access. I want a 2014 playoff. I've gone toe-to-toe with everybody out there. I've gone toe-to-toe with Andy Staples, Ari Wasserman, Josh Pate, you name it. I've had a discussion on X, and I've had lots of discussions in private with a lot of people. And one of the reasons why I want the college football 24, because I think it's going to glue us together, help us to glue us together. But all the talks of a 2014 playoffs, all the talks of a 16-team playoffs, all the talks of continuing a 12-team playoffs, doesn't really starts to diminish in importance once you start thinking about the possibility of a Southeastern Conference taking their ball and going home. Because if they do that, we're not going to have a 2014 playoffs. We're not probably going to have a 16-team playoffs. We don't even know what the playoffs would look like. We don't even know if they're going to be involved in the NCAA basketball tournament or any other tournaments for that matter. The Southeastern Conference is fed up. The Big Ten is fed up. And of course, the Big 12 and the ACC is fed up. So we're going to go through the Ross Dellinger article. We're also going to be doing a spotlight. Again, another team under the spotlight. And it's, of course, the Big Ten spring meetings start. So what do we do here at Peek Around the Corner? What do we do here? We go right to the Ohio State Buckeyes Spotlight Series. I do not know what number team this is, but we're in the high 20s, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the high 20s of how many teams we have done the spotlight on. We're going to be talking about Julian Sand, Bo Jackson, Jeremiah Smith, and others for the Buckeyes. So we're going to do that. We're going to do the I Do Declare. We'll go ahead and do our I Do Declare update. The last one is Badgers have a rusher over 1,000 yards, Ryan Willie. Evaluation of 3 points. So we've had 65 official I Do Declare predictions coming on in. So that has been a lot of fun. We're going to do it all the way through the off season. You can get your prediction in through a super chat. Those proceeds are going to go to the Special Olympics of Minnesota. And then at the end of the championship game, we are going to have our I Do Declare. The PATC Einsteins giving their peek around the corner, giving their predictions on what is going to happen during the season. And we are going to crown a world champion. A world champion. What about this news? I'm going to put it right up in front of my face. Joint statement from the Pac-12, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State, and the Mountain West. The Pac-12 Conference, the Mountain West Conference, and Boise State, and all those other schools on the Board of Trustees of the California State University to the benefit of San Diego State University, California State, Fresno, have reached an agreement in principle to resolve the pending lawsuits. The parties have agreed to stay the lawsuits in California and Colorado while they work to negotiate and finalize the settlement. Both the Mountain West Conference and the Pac-12 joint statement, there has been an agreement in principle reached. An agreement in principle reached. So that is some big, big news. And we'll see what the agreement looks like. Again, the Mountain West Conference is going to get some money out of this, right? They're going to get some money out. How much money? How much money? And there's going to be other interesting details in that settlement. So we'll wait for that to come down. It's not official yet, but it's been in principle agreed upon in principle. Okay. We've got a first super chat of the day. Thank you, Cope. Thank you, Cope, for starting us off. Mr. Hoosier, Mr. Sun Devil, Cope. Methinks the Southeastern Conference is bluffing. Army of 24 would bring revenue to school campuses on home games. Thank you for the $10 holler, Cope. I appreciate your support once again. Thank you very much. Again, I'm going to get a lot of people, maybe not mad at me, maybe some, but a lot of people are going to disagree with me here. Like BYU football, nobody's breaking away. Nobody is breaking away. Nobody. This is all bluff. Is the Southeastern Conference using their leverage? Yes, they are. Is the Big Ten using their leverage? Yes, they are. But again, their leverage in some of these things doesn't mean squat. Sorry, Big Ten. Sorry, Southeastern Conference. You do not control all the levers. You do not control all the buttons. Some of this stuff, a lot of this stuff is out of your control. Sorry. Sorry, it is. But on the other hand, the flip of the coin on that, BYU football and a lot of Big 12 and ACC people that keep wanting to tell themselves this cannot happen. Because a lot of things are out of the control of the SEC and the Big 10, they feel that their only option is to break away. That's the secret sauce in the story. What's the other option? Name another option. The Southeastern Conference does not trust anybody outside the Southeastern Conference. They don't trust anybody. They don't trust the courts. They don't trust anything can be governable. They think the NCAA is an old relic. It doesn't work anymore. They don't believe in the settlement. They don't believe anybody would follow the settlement. They don't believe in nothing except for themselves. They think they might be able to pull this off. And the Big Ten, we talk about how everybody's now, not the fans, but we talk about how the ACC and the Big 12 and Notre Dame have circled the wagons. They're with the Big Ten when it comes to on the debate of the college football playoffs of 24 teams. And the SEC is alone in the corner. Well, there's another flip side to that. The Big Ten keeps going closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to the Southeastern Conference position on a breakaway. It is the SEC that's getting all the notoriety, and they should. It's the Southeastern Conference. It is President Mohr, head of Georgia, leading the way. They're the most aggressive on it. But the Big Ten isn't sitting here going, nah, we're not going to do what the SEC, we would never do that breakaway. No. And we reported to you all this months ago. The Big Ten they're drawing up their plans. They're drawing up their plans. You see, and I'm doing a very bad job of explaining this. And I apologize. I wish there was somebody a whole lot smarter in front of this microphone that could say it a lot more clearly. This is not a bluff. You only bluff. You do not bluff which you do not control. Not all of this is controllable. The SEC cannot, if the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten had all that power, they would have had the Congress eating out of their hands. They would have gotten the SCORE Act passed. The Black Caucus has just come out against the SCORE Act. The Black Caucus has come out against it. You do not bluff, but you do not, you do, they don't have the cards. But this is not about bluffing because you don't have the cards. They can win they think they do not have to lose at the table. They think they don't have to show their 7-2 offsuit. That they can walk away. They can break away from the table and win. They do not have to. The SEC and the Big Ten, for example, the rev share. The Big Ten and the SEC does not, they think that settlement is obsolete. And the arithmetic that it took to get to how much rev share would be spent within athletic departments, they believe that arithmetic doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. So they're willing to break away. They don't want to go by the $21.5 million. They want that number to go way up. That's just one case. They want to be able to enforce rules. The SEC wants to be able to enforce transfer rules. The Big Ten wants a bird rule. They want certain rules to take place. And we can't get anything done together. We can't even govern ourselves together. You do not bluff that. You do not continue to bluff that without actually being able to do actionable items on that threat. This is not an empty threat. And it hasn't been for the longest time. Now, it may not happen. We may get a miracle, right? We may get the SCORE Act passed. The Cruz Cantwell bill might get the SEC and Big Ten total support. There might be some miracle out there. Maybe Jose and RFR Mac and Adam and Don Scruggs can get together and present an idea to the Congress, and they take it up and we get a miracle. I do appreciate the 153 people that are here tonight. We are on the precipice. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe to our channel. Ring that notification bell. This is college football's peek around the corner. We reported to you months ago that we were at DEFCON 1. That the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten, they weren't getting along at all. The SEC is just not into us. I'm talking about the Big Ten. There has been internal battles. The Big 12 and the ACC were slow to pick up the college football 24 mantle, but that doesn't even matter anymore if a breakaway happens. The Southeastern Conference is, as Ross Dellinger has indicated, Ross Dellinger has reported that it is likely, Ross Dellinger used the word likely, that the SEC and ESPN will go early negotiations on their media rights. What do you think that means? Well, probably because they're going to have more conference games. Possibly they're going to have more teams, and they're going to get more money. And maybe, and again, Heather Dinich has reported this and others, that SEC and the Big Ten are still talking about a strategic football alliance partnership with their scheduling. What do you think that means? It is we are heading towards a breakaway unless we get a miracle. Miracles do happen. Miracles do happen. But this is not an idle threat. This is not a threat that is empty. And when you've got, forget about the Southeastern Conference for a moment. It is Big Ten Media Week, right? When you've got Big Ten people saying this stuff, this is real. This is absolutely real. There's two things going on. Well, there's more than two things going on. There is this discussion about a college football playoffs of 24 teams. Let's go to 16. Let's keep it at 12. But there is this bigger, more important item of a possible breakaway Southeastern Conference. We are going to get to the Ross Dellinger article. First, we're going to get to the spotlight on the Ohio State Buckeyes. We've done the I Do Declare update. So I appreciate everybody coming on in. We've got a big show tonight. Very big show tonight. We've got Reggie J. I've never seen an industry cut out half of the consumer base and thrive. Baby boomers can't carry college football viewership forever. Most won't be here in 20 years. True. There's a lot. I agree with that. Now, SEC and the Big Ten are going to say, take a look at the numbers of our viewership. And, what's the percentage of that? They're going to argue something else on that. But I agree. Reggie, I think it's a very dangerous thing. Very dangerous situation here. What the SEC and the Big Ten are doing. But then again, I'm going to tell you straight, which I think it threatens. It's a very scary situation for the SEC and the Big Ten. But it threatens the value of the Big 12 and the ACC a lot. This is something they do not want to see happen. So I think it's going to be bad for college football if this happens. But again, how do we govern ourselves? You know, we keep talking about how a lot of you keep talking about how there shouldn't be a breakaway. There's not going to be a breakaway. But how do we govern ourselves? Everybody, almost everybody in PATC country, I love you, but a lot of you mock the rules. A lot of you give cover to your own team if they break the rules. A lot of people don't care about any of these rules. So here we are. The breakaway threat is real. Uncharted waters. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you for being a member for 26 months. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. We've got Donnie McKerney. Welcome, Early P Cloak and Dagger. I appreciate it. Donnie and Reggie, both of you are knighted Cloak and Dagger. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Don Scruggs. Subscribe, guys. We are all Einsteins. Almost every one of you. Almost every one of you, except for that gentleman that is a Georgia Bulldog fan. I can't remember his. Oh, it's Don Scruggs himself. Yes, all of you are Einsteins. Evil Badger. Evil Badger is in the house. The man, the myth, the legend. Evil Badger. I respect my fellow Big Ten fans, even the Mad Gopher. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. It wasn't me that coined the phrase Evil Badger. That was somebody else. That had to be somebody else. That could not have been me, Ryan Willie. That could not have been me. I respect my fellow Big Ten fans, even the Mad Gopher. I don't respect SEC propagandists who think that ratings are how you decide the best conference instead of results on the field. Wow, Evil Badger comes off the top rope, lands the Evil Badger elbow right on Don Scruggs, Christopher Hooter, and the rest of you SEC fans. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Thank you, Evil Badger. Thank you for the $10 holler. Very much appreciated, sir. Very much appreciated. We got a Buckeye here. We got a Buckeye. Carla Jenkins TV. Carla Jenkins TV. And we're going to do the Ohio State Buckeye Spotlight here in a minute. Woo! Thank you, Carla, for the $5 holler. Day one of the Big Ten spring meetings is today. Wouldn't a breakaway be an 1890 Sherman Act antitrust? Tony and Greg are lawyers. And of course, they've got their counsel, right? They got their legal counsel. I know, well, I won't get too much into it, but I learned about the Big Ten's legal counsel during the USC story. I did not get in trouble. I did not do anything illegal or unethical because I do not work for the Big Ten. But when I spilled that USC information for months, the head of the legal counsel was well aware of what I was cooking up. But anyways, Carla Jenkins, I pretend to be a lawyer. I pretend to be a judge. I pretend to be a college football savant with my picks against the spread. I do a lot of pretending here. But every one of you know I'm pretending when I talk about lawyer stuff. I don't know about the 1890 Sherman Act antitrust. I have a better shot of telling you who played in the 1890 World Series than about a Sherman Act antitrust. I don't know. All I know is, and we're going to go through the Ross Dellinger article, there is some communication about market power, right? Market power. If the SEC does its own breakaway, it does not have market power, so it can enforce its own rules. But then, what about if there's another category out there? What if the courts start looking at, we're not just going to look at entire college sports, we're going to put you in a new category, SEC and Big Ten. We're going to put you in the category of elite college sports. And now you do have the market power on elite college sports, and therefore you cannot govern your own rules. But then again, Carla, there's a possibility, and it's in the article, we're going to talk about it. Some people in the Big Ten and the SEC might like to introduce the idea of a collective bargaining and create a collective bargaining agreement between labor and the Big Ten, labor and the SEC, but they rather do it in their own silo. The number one problem we have is trust. Nobody trusts each other. After year after year after year of disappointment, nobody trusts each other. Big 12 don't trust anybody. The ACC don't trust. Nobody trusts each other. We signed on the dotted line this settlement. We all agreed to it. All of our schools signed up on it. And look what happened. It's ungovernable. Nobody's following the rules. Nobody cares about the enforcement. Nobody's getting kicked out of anything. Nobody's getting these huge fines to stop their actions. So, again, for those who don't think this breakaway is a real threat, answer me this. What is the Southeastern Conference options at this time? You can be mad at them. You can think they're the evil empire. You can say go ahead and leave. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to lose a lot of money. All of that, that's all fine. You might be right. But what is the Southeastern Conference options at this point? They've already spent millions of dollars, a lot of time on Capitol Hill. They did the settlement agreement. Same thing with the Big Ten. We do not have a governable football, governable college sports right now. It's not governable. It's completely out of control. What are the options? We do know that a breakaway is an option. We don't know if it's going to work. But what is another option? Let me know in the chat. Thank you, Carla. I appreciate it. I appreciate the $5 holler. I can't answer the question about a breakaway violating any antitrust 1890. I just don't know. I just don't know. Braylon, no, Sherman Act doesn't affect state schools. Don Scruggs, Big Ten, y'all need to act, bro. Y'all need to act, bro. Jose says a 25-team conference, maybe the largest number of safety. Anything larger starts placing a target on your back. Hold on one second. Whew, boy. In the Ross article, he says that going into silos may have protections from antitrust because it's not a majority of the market. Yes, that is true. We've talked about that. It is a belief out there that the SEC alone, it does not have market power. Therefore, it can create its own rules, enforce its own rules. If you don't like it, you don't have to be a part of the SEC. You can go somewhere else. Same thing with the Big Ten. And it sounds like the SEC could probably expand to quite a few teams before they would reach market power. But also in that article, and we're going to go into it pretty soon here, also in that article it talked about, but what if the courts start looking at the SEC and the Big Ten in a different category than the Big 12, ACC, and all the other schools? What if they look at it like elite college sports? And then they would have market power in the elite college sports, and that would be a no-go either. That was mentioned in the article. But we'll see. We've got Curtis, Michigan, Wolverine. Curtis is in the house. Super chat. College football is in a rowboat on Lake Superior in January. That's not a good place to be. Not a good place to be in a rowboat, Lake Superior in January. There is some ice on Lake Superior, but there is a lot of open water. A lot of open water in the largest freshwater. Very difficult. Very difficult. We're already in different categories. Jared Jones, again, but how does the court see it? Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Mr. Michigan Wolverine. I appreciate your support. Appreciate your $10 holla. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. First of all, we got 192 people in our watching us right now. Thank you guys so very much, guys and gals. I appreciate it. Very dramatic month. End of the month of May. It's going to get even more dramatic. When the Big Ten starts talking like the Southeastern Conference, when it comes to a possible breakaway, not an idle threat, not an idle threat, not an idle threat. Okay? All right. But let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you disagree. Put in the chat room. Again, we'll get to your phone calls later in the program. When you give us a call, you have control. You've got the floor. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. In a super chat, you've got the floor. You can talk about anything in college football that you desire. And then the rest of the comments, I pick and choose depending on if it's relative to to what we're talking about, or if it's interesting, or if it's funny, or if it praises yours host truly here, the fat guy from Minnesota. Anyways, let's get to it. The Buckeyes. The spotlight. You all know where I got the Buckeyes, don't you? You all know my way too early predictions on the Buckeyes. We'll get to it in a moment. If you do not know, quarterback Julian Sayin, unbelievable season last year. First year as a full-time starter, 3,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 77 completion percentage, 77. My goodness. How unbelievable season for Julian Sayin. 177.5 quarterback rating. Fourth in the Heisman. And by the way, Julian Sayin, the 3 guys ahead of him, none of them are back in college football for 2026. So think about that. Think about that. We're gonna circle back to that, by the way. Julian Sayin, a phenomenal season last year. They're gonna try to get him to be a little bit more elusive in the pocket. Gonna have him run a little bit, not too much. Not when you have this man, Bo Jackson. 1,090 yards as a freshman. 6.1 average per rush. 6 rushing touchdowns. 19 receptions, 200 yards receiving. 10.5 average per reception. 1 receiving touchdown. And you know, here's the scary part. He's going to be better this year. Everybody knows he's going to be better. He wasn't supposed to He was not supposed to get the ball that much last year. They were going to ease him into the Buckeyes offense. But again, he was so much better than the people that they had. Peoples and other people that they had placed on top of him in the depth chart. But Bo Jackson just performed at a level. And this year, he is going to be phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Bo Jackson. And of course, you've got Jeremiah Smith. 87 receptions. 1,243 yards receiving. 14.3 average per reception. 12 receiving touchdowns. 6 in the Heisman voting. In the top 10 Heisman votes, the top 10 who got the Heisman votes, 3 of them are coming back for the 2026 season. Number 7th in the voting, Georgia, starting quarterback Gunnar Stockton. 6th in the Heisman voting, Jeremiah Smith. 4th in the Heisman voting, Julian Sand. Brandon Innes, receiver. 3rd year, he finally started getting some playing time. 36 receptions, 271 yards, 7.5 average, 3 receiving touchdowns. They've got a 5-star in the mix. They got a whole bunch of receivers, but we went with Brandon Innes. He's been there for 3 years. He deserves the spotlight tonight. Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Innes, Bo Jackson. Now, for the defense, there were a lot of players I could have put in the spotlight. And I'm going to surprise a lot of Buckeyes here. But I went with this man because I talked about this man last year. Duke Blue Devils. The only defensive player that had a pulse at Duke last year. And we talked about this last year. When they played UConn, the defense got just crushed. Duke was the ACC champion, but the defense couldn't hold up to anybody, but this guy could. Terry Mohr. And again, I misspelled the first name, Terry. Terry Mohr. Duke, 45 solo tackles, 71 combo, 7 tackle for losses, 4 interceptions. A phenomenal season last year. And again, he goes in the portal, and who recognizes that Terry Mohr was phenomenal? It's the Ohio State Buckeyes. You know, some of these football programs, yeah, they got the fan base, they got the resources, they got the exposure, they got the history. But they've also got something else. They know talent. They see talent. Terry Mohr goes in the portal and bam, he becomes a Buckeye. And when that happens, yeah, he didn't play last year, the year before. Sorry about that. Year before. My bad. I got that on my notes. 2026 Ohio State football schedule. Now, this is a pretty tricky schedule. I got to tell you. This is not an easy one. Texas. On the road against Texas. Hold on a second. Hold on one second. This isn't... Okay, hold on. Okay. Texas at Texas, Kent State, Illinois, Iowa, Maryland, Indiana, USC, Oregon. Look at those stretch of games. Look at that. Indiana, USC, Oregon, Northwestern Nebraska, then Michigan. So they do have a very competitive schedule. Iowa, Illinois, my goodness. Indiana, USC, Oregon, very difficult schedule. But again, as you all know, we've got the Buckeyes doing pretty good this year. In our way too early PATC prediction, we got the Buckeyes doing really good. Bam! Got them winning the Big Ten championship. We've got Oregon number 2, Indiana 3, USC 4. We got the Buckeyes, the Ducks, the Hoosiers, and the Trojans in the playoffs. And then, of course, bam, we got the Buckeyes winning it all. The number 2 seed going in the tournament. We think Texas is going to beat the Buckeyes in the regular season. Then the Buckeyes come back and beat the Longhorns to the championship. The Ohio State Buckeyes, the national champions. Absolutely. So we're big on Ohio State, as you can see. And the Buckeye fans should not worry. Because it is Greg the Gold this year. Greg the Gold. Ohio State Buckeyes, they're going to win it all. That's our way too early predictions. Are we going to confirm that in the month of August? We're going to find out. We think it's between the Longhorns and the Buckeyes. All right. Yeah. So this was your Buckeyes, Ohio State Buckeyes spotlight. Julian Sand, quarterback Bo Jackson, running back Jeremiah Smith, the great Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Innes, Terry Mohr. Yeah, I forgot about that, guys. I got that in my notes. Terry Mohr had a fantastic 2024 season, played in 2022, 2023. I failed to put the 2024 stats up there, but that's the season that he had in 2024. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Terry Mohr, the Duke Blue Devils. So there it is. We've got a massive super chat from Sooner Cope. Then we're going to get into the Ross Dellinger article. $20 holler. Under the scenario laid out, the SEC and the Big Ten have incentive to grow to 24 brands each. A carrot to dangle to SEC, Fox assures ESPN. If college football is at 24, then Virginia is untouchable by Office and Rosemont. SEC, Big Scoop, Fox, Army at 24. There is a lot there, Cope. I appreciate the $20 holler. Does a breakaway ensure that the SEC and the Big Ten go to 24 teams each? I don't think it ensures that at all, and I don't think it's going to happen quickly either. I do think if the SEC and the Big Ten goes in the silo, that those first party talks are going to start really heating up. Especially if it ever gets confirmed that the SEC and ESPN are in early media rights negotiations. If that gets confirmed, holy bleep. Right? We know that the Southeastern Conference wants to expand, but it has to be the right environment. This is not the right environment. Nothing is imminent. In our opinion, nothing has been imminent. We've been saying that for years, a couple of years, since Washington and Oregon. These planes have got to land or they got to crash. The SCORE Act, it's got to land, it's got to crash. The Cruz-Cantwell bill has to land, it's got to crash. The college football plan, the breakaway talk now is the one that is the biggest plane. Is the breakaway plane going to actually land? Is the Southeastern Conference going to break away officially, formally from the NCAA? They're writing up the plans right now. We're going to go in the Ross Dellinger article. I don't know about the. I really thank you, Cope, for the $20 holler. I'm gonna give you an opinion, Cope. Just an opinion on it. I I don't think the plans that the SEC has to expand, all their wargaming, and the Big Ten, all of their plans to expand, all of their wargaming, I do not think it's going to be a coordinated effort. I don't think it's going to be coordinated. Fox and ESPN are not coordinating with each other. They're at war with each other. I mean, there's sometimes they cooperate, right? But I don't think they're going to coordinate the expansion of the conferences. I don't think that. I don't think that's going to happen. So anytime I hear that one is going to acquiesce to the other on this, the other on that, I don't think so. I mean, one of the primary reasons that UCLA is in the Big Ten is because Fox said, we're gonna take all of Los Angeles because of the fear that the SEC is going to do an expansion outside of the region. They wanted all of Los Angeles. Both of these are not, they're not, the Southeastern Conference truly wants Virginia. Even though a lot of people don't think that, take it however you want. That is their main target with North Carolina for reasons other than football brand. It's all the other reasons. You've been watching all the news about the student apocalypse that we talked about the last couple of years. You've seen all these schools closing, these small private schools. You've seen all this stuff going on. Duke just cut 5% of their staff. I mean, all of this stuff is happening. Everything is being consolidated. Schools are closing. The students are going to another. It's survival of the fittest. Everybody's trying to rush to the higher ground at every level in these universities, public and private. The public institutions in some cases have a little bit more protection because they have government, state support. But everyone is rushing to higher ground, and that includes the next wave of realignment. If you got a shot, if you got a little bit of a shot to get to higher ground, because of this wave of consolidation, you get to the higher ground. You do what you can. We all talk about what SMU did. Well, look what North Dakota State did. Look what the Sacramento State Hornets did. Look what Stanford in California did, taking 30 cents on the dollar. Well, we have reported to you that there are schools willing to do a lot to get to the Southeastern Conference, to do a lot to get to the Big Ten Conference. Especially, you think it's a buyer market now for the Southeastern Conference, Cope? You think it's a buyer's market now? If the Southeastern Conference makes it formal, if they make it formal that they're breaking away from the NCAA, it's going to have an effect of like schools. Some schools might be like, man, that's a risk. That is way too risky. Some other schools are probably going to be going, let us in, baby. Let us in. What do we need? What do you need us? What do you need from us to get to the Southeastern Conference? But does that mean we go to 24? Does that mean we do it quickly? I don't think so. I don't think so. I would bet against it. But we shall see. We shall see. Thank you, Cope. I appreciate it. We've got Helmer Henderson, $2 holla. Helmer Henderson, if I do declare Gray goes gold this year, is it a 5? Unfortunately, it would be a 5. But I cannot, we're only, and I've said this a few times, but we're only doing predictions on results on the football field, on coaches, things of that nature. OPD Dunn did a great prediction on viewership numbers for a certain game. We can't do it on, we're not going to do it on personalities. So we're not going to do it, we're not going to do how bad I do, how good I do. But I do thank you for the $2 holler, Helmer Henderson. if we did allow that in, unfortunately, it would be a 5. It really should be a 1 because I know that Greg the Gold is coming on in here. But because of historical precedent, we would have to give that evaluation a 5, but we cannot allow that in. Thank you, Hammer Henderson. Thank you so much. Peter Johnson, $2 holla. Utah is all in. Yes, they are. Utah's got some pros and some cons, but one of their cons is not that they're all in. One of their cons is not that they're willing to do whatever it is necessary. All right, let's get to the article. First of all, let me make sure I have gotten everybody here. Again, if you send a super chat, I appreciate it so very much. I'll get to as fast as I can, I promise you. But we're going to go through an article here. After the article, I'll go through the super chats, and I will go to the phone calls as soon as possible. But we got to get to it here. Big article out this morning. Ross Dellinger with potential split from CSC on the table. College sports leaders are struggling to find solutions to money problems. Quote, the Big Ten and the SEC should break away and do their own deal. Rancho Palos Verdes, California, on the cliffs of the Pacific Ocean, some 30 miles south of downtown Los Angeles, administrators and coaches from college football's new king, the Big Ten, gathered at a Mediterranean-style resort for the annual spring meetings during the most transformational time in college athletic history. As the NCAA's 7-year congressional lobbying effort reaches a climax, a vote on legislation is scheduled for this week in the House, with momentum building for a bipartisan bill in the Senate. College sports is on the brink of more revolutionary decisions. We are on the precipice. We are on the brink. We need a miracle. We need congressional action. We need something to pass in which the Big Ten, the SEC, Big 12, and ACC, and the G6 can all agree upon. We need a miracle, or the breakaway is going to happen. It is going to happen. It talks about the House settlement here. We're going to skip that. We're going to skip part of this article, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone is frustrated, said one league executive here. Again, this is the Big Ten meetings. This is not the SEC meetings. This is the Big Ten. In this era of athlete compensation, the Big Ten has turned back the clock. The league is thriving. Among the 4 power conferences, the Big Ten boasts the biggest alumni and donor bases, largest enrollments, richest endowments, and the most populated urban areas across 14 states in 3 time zones. The conference claimed in January a 3rd consecutive football national championship. Michigan and UCLA. However, Tony Petitti's league, and the SEC too for that matter, is at the center of the latest and most pressing issue. Millions of dollars promised to college athletes are trapped in purgatory. Not in heaven, not in hell, purgatory. It is trapped. And leaders here aren't alone in their disdain for a settlement and enforcement entity that some believe have already run their course. We need to get with the plaintiff attorneys and rethink the House settlement, outgoing North Carolina Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham said last week. Should there be one same cap for everybody? Should your budget be taken into account? Now that we have a year's worth of experience, is it working? Some already have their answers. Georgia President Mr. Moorhead, the House settlement has been nothing short of a disaster. all the assurances from conference lawyers about this settlement solving any of our key issues have not materialized because of the loopholes around the so-called third-party NIL deals. So what to do is complicated, right? They're all going to have their separate annual spring meetings. The questions linger. Can the settlement be dissolved or rewritten? Can the new enforcement arm of the College Sports Commission be reformed? And are the SEC and the Big Ten really considering an NCAA breakaway? Yes, they are. I'm rooting for us to lose. Again, there are people in all these Power Four conferences that wants basically everything to lose. They want the College Sports Commission to lose. They want everything to be busted up. We're going to skip a lot of this stuff here. The 68 Power League schools submitted more than $250 million worth of deals since January 1st. And a striking statistic that illustrates the financial gaps among the four conferences. The SEC and the Big Ten accounted for more than 75% of those submitted deals, according to figures shared with university presidents. We can no longer govern the money. In the meantime, college sports executives are discussing ideas on reforming or rewriting the NCAA rules under which the College Sports Commission operates, including granting amnesty to all or a portion of the NIL deals currently in the system, increasing the cap, adding a luxury tax, or some other version of a financial. And that was what I thought, maybe a luxury tax. If you go over the cap, some of that money you get taxed, and that's going to go into Olympic sports funding. Such changes mean rewriting and significantly amending a binding 10-year settlement agreement struck between the plaintiff attorneys and the 6 defendants, NCAA, ACC, SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, and Pac-12. You need everybody on board for any structural changes to the settlement, including the cap. Attorneys with the knowledge of the agreement believe if they want to make cap changes, the Big Ten and the SEC may be at the mercy of the others. Brett Yormark, I'm against any immediate changes without a sustainable long-term plan of the College Sports Commission. The ideas being contemplated mostly benefit the two conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC, and in particular their biggest budget football brands. In 24 and 25, the 10 richest public school budgets in order belong to Texas, Ohio State, Tennessee, Michigan, Alabama, Penn State, Texas A&M, Georgia, LSU, and Nebraska. 21 of the top 23 wealthiest schools hail from the SEC of the Big Ten. The two outliers are Florida State and Clemson. The financial gaps have sitting power conference administrators frustrated to a point where one recently espoused, and here is the PATC money shot of the article. The Big Ten and the SEC should break away and do their own deal. That makes sense to me. To some of them here, the cap is still not big enough. Plenty of high-level college leaders have publicly supported increasing the cap or lifting it completely, including Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjork, who said recently, we cannot govern the money any longer. And then there's more statistics about how rich Texas and Ohio State is. Now, here is a very interesting point. Kessler and Berman, the two men who must approve any changes to the House settlement agreement, would not stand in the way if schools wanted to increase or even eliminate the cap, Berman told Yahoo Sports. But dissolving the settlement is not an option. Defendants in the House settlement cannot withdraw, Kessler said flatly in a recent interview. Change to the CSC, though, feels necessary or even inevitable. So you can imagine the Big Ten and the SEC, they're going to want to increase the cap or get rid of the cap entirely, or go to their own silos and maybe have their own CBA agreement, but the cap is going to be much higher. You can see that coming down the track. Okay. One national agency representing football coaches recently showed their clients a presentation where they projected that football rosters at the biggest brands will climb to $60 million next week. These are not marketing deals, tennis athletic director Danny White has said in the past. We have to stop pretending that they are not getting compensated for playing for us. And here is the big part of the article and what we're going to focus on the most here on a May 18th live show. Thank you all for joining us. This is the big news of the evening, a breakaway. Now staffed at 20 people. The CSC and its CEO, Brian Seeley, have opened plenty of inquiries into unsubmitted deals and those related to high school NIL compensation. Many remain active. Others have been resolved. None have ended in sanctions, at least none made public. Behind closed doors, Seeley has told school and conference officials that their resistance to sign away their legal rights in what is termed a participation agreement is limiting enforcement. Again, the CSC is handcuffed to enforce because the schools will not sign a participation agreement. Again, another example of not being able to get all 68 schools on board. The Southeastern Conference is willing to agree. They've all said they're going to sign it. But they can't get the Big Ten, they can't get the ACC, they can't get the Big 12. Many administrators claim that the money will find its way to players eventually no matter what, said one recently. A nod perhaps toward the absence of penalties from the CSC. As it turns out, and here it is, PATC money shot number 2 of the article. As it turns out, the SEC and the Big Ten leaders have been exploring a separation from the NCAA to operate their own governance system, enforcement arm, and perhaps even only holding intra-conference competition only. The Southeastern Conference, the Big Ten, both of them have been exploring a separation from the NCAA, going their own way, a breakaway, own governance system, own enforcement arm, and perhaps even only holding intra-conference competition only. SEC plays SEC, Big Ten plays Big Ten, all 12 regular season games. It's a way to set and enforce their own rules and potentially evade antitrust challenges considering their membership size. The group size, 16 schools in the SEC, 18 in the Big Ten, might make it more efficient to bargain with players too, a concept with growing support as detailed last summer. It'd be easier for the Southeastern Conference to do a collective bargaining agreement with 16 of the schools, right? And not have to have anybody else in the bargaining agreement. It's the labor, the representation, and the Southeastern Conference. Same with the Big Ten. However, this breakaway, none of this is easy. The SEC, like all defendants in the House settlement, remains obligated for a portion of the $2.4 billion in back pay, as well as the attorney fees. And that's not half of it. A breakaway may include increasing conference staff, hiring out or operating an enforcement arm, and potentially committing political suicide, ending participation in national competition and championships. Does the Southeastern Conference really want to do that? Does the Big Ten really want to do that? What if they find that they can't have it? What if the Southeastern Conference, the Big Ten, figures out that they can't have the champions of both conferences play each other in the college Super Bowl because that would affect their ability to protect themselves from antitrust violations? In an interview earlier this spring, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey stressed that the long-discussed breakaway would not solve all the problems and that his league remains committed to a national organization. However, PATC money shot number 3 of the article, there are limits to that, he said then. The frustration level is a building. According to multiple school officials, a leading agenda item at SEC spring meetings next week, Destin, Florida, is none other than the conference future within the NCAA. Informally, now it's formal. Now it is formal. A leading agenda item. The Southeastern Conference future relationship with the NCAA is at risk. The topic is expected to arise here in California too, in the Big Ten meetings. Lots of people in this league, the SEC, are saying, what is plan B? Texas A&M Athletic Director Trev Alberts told Yahoo Sports early this spring. That's my question. What is the option? If you don't want the breakaway, what is the option? Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland feels the league may not have a choice. Federal law prevents us from setting unilaterally national standards, he said. It seems like the only chance you have at setting a standard is a smaller subset of schools. And that is the breakaway. We've talked about the Brown University, the Ivy League University decision. But the SEC and the Big Ten, they cover a lot of states. They have the biggest brands. Don't they have market power? Chow does give us some guidance that the narrower conference of governance could survive antitrust scrutiny, given the conferences compete with each other and do not capture an entire market. See, the NCAA has no competition. They are a big umbrella. So they have market power. The SEC has competition. It's called the Big Ten. The Big Ten has competition. It's called the SEC. Both the Big Ten and the SEC have competition. It's called the ACC. It's called the Big 12. Kessler, the lawyer of the House settlement, confirmed that the conferences can make their own rules under the settlement as long as the policies do not conflict with the agreement itself. One conference could propose to plaintiff attorneys Kessler and Berman a higher cap or no cap. If they deem the change benefits the class of if they deem the change benefits the class of athletes, the lawyers can propose the change to the magistrate judge overseeing the agreement. But Kessler warns the NCAA and other conferences could oppose it if it's not in the interest of the class, but raising the cap would seem logical to be in the interest of the class. And that's about all, ladies and gentlemen. The slow pace of congressional legislation means weeks or months before any kind of bill passage, if it happens at all. In the immediate future, with millions of roster compensation at risk, college sports must solve its own problems. The biggest of them, they cannot agree on a solution. It is ungovernable. It is ungovernable. That is where we're at right now. That's the reality. Don Scruggs, Big Ten being competition is a stretch, Greg. Don Scruggs, you do not want any judges or lawyers reading your comment right now, because if they feel that the Big Ten is not competition for the SEC, you're not going to get your way. You're not going to have antitrust protection. So Don Scruggs, if I was you, if you want the SEC to have the option of breakaway, I would delete that message right now, because the lawyers and judge are looking at it. They're looking at it. Stephen Vitt, Greg Sankey's comment, committed to a national organization. Yeah, sure. What about Notre Dame? Do we even talk about Notre Dame tonight before we get to your phone calls? Should we bring it up, or am I just going to get pounded on here? Should I bring it up? Okay, let's bring it up. Let's bring it up. The Big 12 does not want the SEC in the Big 10 to break away. The ACC does not want the Big 10 and the SEC to break away. Notre Dame does not want the Big Ten and the SEC to break away. Cranky Tiger says, who gives a rip about Notre Dame? Well, Clemson does. You had a scheduling agreement with them. Notre Dame should move to Mexico. Notre Dame's not worth talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, Notre Dame does not want this to happen. So when they're sitting hearing all this talk about the Southeastern Conference, they have it as an agenda item. Remember, we always hear that the Southeastern Conference is going to protect Notre Dame, going to protect their football independent status. The Southeastern Conference, I'm going to say this again, they're not really into us, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody outside the Southeastern Conference today, they are not really into us. They're not really they're not looking out for us. And again, the Big Ten's not looking out for them, and the ACC's not looking out for them. The days of the Southeastern Conference protecting Notre Dame to the benefit of who? I mean, I get it. The Southeastern Conference has never really wanted Notre Dame to join the Big Ten for obvious reasons. I think we can all agree with that. But the Southeastern Conference wants to be able to govern themselves. They're at that point. They're at that point. Now look, Greg Sankey might give Bavacqua a call and say, come on, join the Southeastern Conference. Let's go. Let's go. I don't think Bavacqua, I don't think Father Flanagan or whoever Father Jenkins, whoever the leader is at Notre Dame, the faculty, the boosters, The fan base, they're not going to want to go to the Southeastern Conference because they're not in Southeastern Conference country for the most part. But again, the Southeastern Conference, their decision on going silo or not, breaking away from the NCAA, they're not thinking about Notre Dame's interests. They're not. They're not thinking about Notre Dame at all. They're thinking about Auburn. They're thinking about Alabama. They're thinking about Tennessee and Florida, Mississippi, Mississippi State, LSU, Texas, Oklahoma. They're thinking about the Southeastern Conference. They're thinking about how, okay, we can govern these NIL deals. We're going to pay our athletes a whole lot of money. We're a rich conference, even though a lot of people outside the conference think they're poverty. They're not poverty, as I have been saying. And we're not going to play these other schools outside of our SEC region. We're not going to do it unless they follow the same exact rules or close to us that we're doing, and that we trust their governance. If the Southeastern Conference does their breakaway, are they really going to start? Are they going to really keep playing Notre Dame? Is the Big Ten, if they do a breakaway, are they going to keep playing Notre Dame as a football independence? They don't know what Notre Dame's doing. Notre Dame is spending a lot of money on their football program. We read a report to you all that they're having drastic cuts. They're planning to have drastic cuts to 17 of their non-revenue sports because they're dumping more and more money into football. Who's governing Notre Dame other than Notre Dame? Who's looking out over if the SEC breaks away from the NCAA? There's nobody looking at Notre Dame other than Notre Dame. Notre Dame does not want this to happen. The walls continue to close in on the Fighting Irish. The SEC is not interested in Miami. I think the Southeastern Conference has got other targets. To be honest, I did put up this. Let's see here. Where did I? Here's my post. The Wall Street Journal had an article up a couple of days ago on Miami. Miami is booming with waves of wealthy people drawn to the metro area in recent years, yet there is a countercurrent. Its population is shrinking. The result is a glittering urban center that is richer, smaller, and built to cater to upscale living. So take that however you want to take it. You can take that's a positive for Miami. You can take that's a negative for Miami. Overall, I think it's a positive for Miami. Because the Big Ten is interested in, well, the national advertisers that advertise on Big Ten live content, they want the richer locations, the richer markets. But you can take that however you want to take it. So I do think the Miami, again, we have said this for a long time, Miami, while they're not tier 1 on the Big Ten candidate list, they're definitely at the top of tier 2. No question about it. All right. Let's do the phone calls. I think we're caught up on the super chats. Let's get to your phone calls. The phone line is open. 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. And again, when you call, you have the floor. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. But again, tonight, the breakaway talks intensify. They are intensifying. They're not dying down.
From
Mohr Simmons.
Mohr Simmons, Mr. Seminole Win is on the line. the best voice in college football, in PATC country. Mohr Simmons, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for calling.
Yes, Greg. I meant to call you about, I think, about 2 or 3 days ago. It was somebody in the chat brought up something about ESPN and the SEC for its money, for its bringing in Florida State and 3 other schools, and they was talking about where that it would have to be full share. One thing I've been saying, I think Florida State would get full share in the SEC, and it was some rebuttal that no, that ain't going to happen, half share. And anyway, what I was saying is this: the SEC is already undervalued by ESPN. ESPN basically is doing the same thing that they pretty much did with the ACC. You know, paying them peanuts, and they know the real value of the SEC. Now, once Florida State and these schools come out of the ACC, the value of that ACC contract is going to depreciate. It's just going to plummet. It's going to drop. So the money that they can save off that ACC media deal, that money is coming over there to the SEC. You'd be crazy not to say it's not. It's coming over there. And secondly, who's to say that there's not another media partner coming in with ESPN to increase the value for the SEC? Just like how you have Fox, NBC, CBS, and rumors that Amazon may come over. But that's not even a done deal neither, because truth be told, Amazon could be looking at both Big Ten, DC. See, nobody not really looking at the big picture of this, because Amazon, if they want to come over to the Big Ten, they're going to want big brands for scheduling. That's going to put pressure on Big Ten. Hey, we're going to have to get big brands in here and schedule to get this money, or Amazon could go straight over to ESPN, work a deal. You already got big brands in the SEC. They're in a win-win situation. So this is why I tell people, hey, this thing right now is so much money on the table, and that's not including Apple, because Apple is also looking at getting into college football also. So it's too much money that's going to come out here on this table. It's a lot of money that's behind the scenes that's coming. And for its Notre Dame, I did want to hold on to the independence. I get that.
Yeah.
Florida State used to be independent years ago. I mean, decades ago now. But college football is changing. It's evolving. You're gonna have to give it the program, or you're gonna be left out in the cold. And that's just the bottom line. You're gonna have to come in, because the Big Ten is gonna pressure them. Hey, look, what's your answer? You don't give us an answer? Okay, we're going to have to make moves. And that's it. Nobody not going to hold up their business model for Notre Dame. And that's crazy. That'd be committing suicide out there.
Yeah.
You got to move. But that's the only thing I want to say.
Got it, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Mohr Simmons. Beautiful call, sir.
All right.
You got it. Beautiful. You know, there is, you know, again, if we hold on, I want to make a comment about Mohr Simmons here.
Call from
Patron.
Patron, can you hold on for 1 second, please?
Absolutely.
If we do hear that, you know, when Ross Denlinger said it was likely, when he used that word likely, in fact, he used it twice. He had in 2 different reports that the ESPN and SEC are going to go into early media negotiations. if that happens, man, that is really going to perk my ears up big time. But, in all these variables that we talk about when it comes to the next wave, and this SEC goes in another silo, that's one huge domino that we don't know if it's going to fall or not. One of the advantages that Florida State and Clemson have, they have it in their back pocket. They automatically, day one, forget about the TV ratings and the ticket sales that they would, I think they would put more demand on ticket sales, whatever. One of the advantages that Florida State Clemson has that nobody else really has in the ACC is that they would create value for the Southeastern Conference day one. They would also create Big Ten value for the Big Ten on day one because they have won national championships within this since 2014. And how the Southeastern Conference, the Big Ten, and the ACC, and the Big 12, how they agreed to how much distribution money each would get and with the playoffs distribution, it was somewhat largely dependent on how many national championships does your current school roster of schools, how many championships have they won in the playoff era. And Florida State and Clemson would, in fact, increase the payments to the Southeastern Conference schools if they join the Southeastern Conference. More money would come to the Southeastern Conference and a little bit less money would go to the ACC. So it's an advantage because Florida State and Clemson can use that extra money that they're giving to the SEC and give up a little bit. I mean, that is a separate way for Florida State and Clemson to help grease the skids to the Southeastern Conference. Just that alone, besides all the other positive effects that Florida State and Clemson would have on the media contract, whatever. But I just wanted to bring that up again because I think a lot of people forget about it. They don't talk about it. But Florida State and Clemson would automatically give the SEC conference, I don't know, $48 million more, $100 million, like $48 million, like each school in the SEC would get like a $3 million more on the playoff distribution per school. I mean, that's like $100 million a year. 5 more years left in the contract. That's like $500 million more going to the Southeastern Conference. Just one example. Patron, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Yeah, Greg, a lot of college football news today, man. It's like difficult to fit everything in every episode. The offseason moves so quickly.
Yep.
A couple things like, the Brendan Thorsby news today that I think he's now suing the NCAA or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm reading that Texas Tech is looking to get him eligible.
Mm-hmm. Naturally.
Did you read that? I'm reading that. I don't know if it's like true or not, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not surprising to me. They did pay a lot of money for it. And, as we see, as you mentioned with Florida State Clemson, it pays to be hot at the right time. A program like Clemson, it benefits them a lot that they were able to win a couple of championships in the playoff era, as we see moving forward. And for Texas Tech now, it benefits them a lot to be hot in the 12-team playoff era moving forward. Also, your Ohio State spotlight, I had to throw this out there, the news that, the Ohio State, there's some Ohio State college football players that filed a lawsuit against Ohio State. I don't know if you saw that recently, regarding the sexual abuse scandal that happens at Ohio State. So sadly, when we talk about these institutions and the amount of money and power and politics involved, you start to wonder what type of people are running these institutions, sadly. But anyway, what I was calling about, Greg, is this silo, right? The breakaway, the silo. And this is something that probably like 80% of my calls to your show involve is like, I firmly have believed for a while now that this is the eventuality, that the silos are going to come. And I do believe in the most extreme scenario where they're just going to play SEC only, maybe a couple of G6 games. Big Ten will play Big Ten only. I do think Big 12 is going to be the third silo, and that assimilate some of the rest of the best, so to speak. And they're going to have their own internal playoff. And one of the reasons, Greg, is like, I don't know, that was on my mind is like, if you saw recently the president and the leading industrialists of America, they just went to China, right?
Yeah.
And they had like a big meeting with China, and the discussion like you see with like America versus China is very similar to that of like SEC versus Big Ten. Is the solution greater integration? You've talked about, you advocate for the Army of 24 because this is like a glue that kind of holds everybody together and binds everybody together.
Yeah.
Is the solution to the relationship greater integration? Like, I think your governor is a person that says that the best thing is to actually do more business with China. More business leads to more peace, more shared interests. And what we see happening in real life is that's only possible when you view yourself as collaborators. You view yourself cooperatively, that your goals are aligned, right? And what happens is when you can have that glue together, but when you have that competitive mindset where you don't view each other as equals, one party is trying to beat the other party, when it's competitive, this now incentivizes people to sort of stop following the parameters of the agreement. You talk about it with surprise that, hey, everybody signed on the dotted line for the NCAA. Everybody signed on the dotted line for the House settlement. How could they break the rules? Well, that's because they're competitors, Greg. And competitors will always try to cheat or find some way to maximize their competitive advantage.
Well, hold on a second. I mean, there's a lot of sports leagues and association that have that have franchises voluntarily folling the rules, right? I mean, there is no league.
It's not out of the. If I may.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying there is no league or organization that has an enforcement arm that can look over everybody's shoulders at every time. I mean, there is a lot of voluntary. Yes, we're going to follow the rules. I mean, we do that in the the Big 12 has its own bylaws. The ACC has their own bylaws. Look, I want to show you something here, and I don't mean to get off. I'm going to give you all the time you want, Patreon. I just want to show you this example here. Pat Forty just put out an article. Texas Tech voted against more permissive gambling legislation last fall. Now it's back in a quarterback with a history of impermissional wagering and an eligibility fight with the NCAA. So again, we can have all these rules. We can have all this governing. We can have all these D1 council. We can have all these meetings. We can have, but if schools just don't want to follow the rules that they just signed on, and it sounds like I'm picking on Texas Tech, but it could be anybody. I mean, this is just ridiculous. If we do not, there is a cultural problem with college sports. We do not have this in a lot of other sports. It's like you just sign the gambling rule, but now it's your player. Now it's like, no. That's got to stop. That has to stop. Go ahead, Patron. I apologize. Go ahead, sir.
No, great point. And I believe, Greg, there's like a secondary reason. When you see these leagues where everybody agrees to follow a set of rules and they do follow them, that's because they view the benefits of cooperation as being greater than the benefit of competition, right? Yeah. If you're an NBA or NFL franchise, the benefit of going by the rules is greater than the benefit of cheating. And to use that sort of political example, look at Europe. In Europe, these countries like France and Germany and Italy, they used to fight constantly for many hundreds of years. Eventually, after World War II, they realized, okay, it benefits us more to cooperate and let's all follow the rules. And even if France loses out a little bit, even if Italy loses out a little bit, if Germany gains, it's okay because overall we all benefit more from cooperation. But when you don't view yourself as cooperative equals, you start circumventing the rules. You see this with China, like they send, these fentanyl precursors to America, or America gives money to Taiwan. And what happens is the deal kind of just sort of falls apart. So what ends up having to happen is that you don't see the greater integration and unification of these two parties. You see the opposite. You see them grow apart from each other. You see barriers erected like tariffs, right? Which is similar to the concept of silo. The SEC is going to kind of break away into their own silos, like a trade barrier between the Big Ten. We're not going to play you. We don't want our viewers to watch your games. We're going to have separate media partners, right? It's that type of breakaway. And in the short term, it may hurt, right? Just like the tariffs may hurt in the short term. But the idea is that in the long term, particularly if you're the SEC or the USA in this case, it's like the idea is that it has to advantage you somehow in the long term, because in a cooperative relationship, you feel disadvantaged. Like in China, they're able to subsidize their businesses in a way that we cannot here in the US. The Big Ten is able to subsidize their program with a financial resource advantage in ways that the SEC maybe cannot. So if you keep cooperating over a long period of time, you're going to lose your competitive edge. The SEC is already losing their competitive edge, right? Like they've lost they haven't been in the national championship for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of becoming too much to deny. So I think it's kind of natural then that they're going to break away, and everybody's going to have to kind of, rearrange the chairs on the deck. Everybody's going to try to pick whose side are they on. That sort of benefits them, and it's unfortunate. But the last thing I'll say is, if you just look at the chat, PATC chat, there's more Big Ten people that bash the SEC than talking about their own team. And on the other hand, you went to like Big Ten Huddle podcast last night. I mean, how many SEC fans do you think are going to follow you to a channel like Big Ten Huddle? We would like to say that everybody's a college football fan, everybody's getting along, but I mean, they don't, right? So I kind of think that due to the financial realities and that competitive, the fact that now they're competing for money, they're competing for enrollment, they're competing in all these regards, it naturally polarizes and pushes the silo and the breakaway rather than greater integration through something like an Army of 24. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. It does. It does. It's what you said makes a lot of sense.
Thanks, man. Well, thanks for letting me call. I'll let someone else call in. You have a great afternoon.
It, Patron. Beautiful call.
Yeah.
All right, phone lines are open, 763-260-1333.
Call from
Evil Beggar.
We've got the man, the myth, the legend. He's on the line, the original PATC family member, Ryan Willie. Thank you for calling. The floor is yours, sir.
Two quick things.
Yes, sir.
One, a response to what Patron just said.
Got it.
That the Big Ten fans are giving the SEC fans a lot of grief in the chat. Well, it goes both ways. And the results on the field matter. Ratings don't really matter. It's what happens on the field that matters.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to talk about is, what do you think about Sorsby trying to get the injection against the NCAA so they can play in 2026?
I think it's terrible. I think it's here's a young man who definitely has an addiction. He admitted it. He went in counseling maybe he's still there. He first has to get healthy. Of course the NCAA has rules. The Big 12 has rules. Everyone has rules against this. You can't gamble on your team. You can't do this stuff and expect to play. In any other association, you would not be able to play it. It sounds like I'm picking on Texas Tech, but again, I went after Michigan with their in-person scouting.
Texas Tech brings it on themselves.
Huh?
Texas Tech brings it on themselves.
But I would hope that, I'll just bring up Illinois. I would hope that Illinois would not back their quarterback and get them in eligible right after announcing. But I don't know. I mean, there's so many. Again, schools just cannot take a lot. They cannot take a hit. They feel like they have to go to the courts and sue on everything. And that is a huge problem. Brendan Sorsby should not be playing football this year. Did you see all the gambling he's done on everything? I mean, did you see that the man has to get healthy first. But yet everyone's forgetting about the guy's health. I'm disappointed. I'm extremely disappointed in Texas Tech. I'm not surprised. And I'm extremely disappointed in that basically a lot of schools would be acting the way Texas Tech is acting. And that's the problem in college sports. Go ahead, sir.
First, he's lucky that he doesn't have FBI or law enforcement checking into what he's been doing, because from what has been stated, he started when he was under 21. Because he started at Indiana, doing it in Indiana. And gambling under 21, I don't believe is legal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a legal criminal matter. There are people who do things illegally that still are able to play college sports. But I'm more focused on he broke a known rule. I mean, every college athlete knows that they cannot bet on their sport. They can't do that. He knew it in 2022 when he went to Indiana. He did it. He just admitted he's got a gambling addiction, and now they're going to get him in playing football. I
think the reason why he's trying to get back into college football is because he knows his NFL career is over.
Well, maybe it is. And maybe he has to play the United Football League, and maybe he has to prove himself that he's healthy, that he's okay. I'm incredibly disappointed by all this. I love college football, but guys and gals, only in college football would you see something like this. Only in college football would you see a university, a franchise supporting a guy to try to get him on the football field right after he. Cody Campbell. I better not say it. I'll keep my mouth shut for now, but I think this is terrible.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call, Greg.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
MBM Super Chat. Silos can be dangerous. Scratched my cornea working in one 40 years ago. Now, MBM is making MBM is talking about a real silo that he worked in 40 years ago, but I think what he's trying to tell us, everybody, is breaking away, going in their silos is dangerous. And I would agree with MBM. I've been saying the same thing. It's uncharted waters. We do not know what we do not know. It's going to be crazy if it happens. It's dangerous. MBM is letting everybody know. But again, what are the options? I would like to hear more options, because yeah, it's tough. Thank you, Ryan Willie. Thank you for the call. Thank you, MBM. I appreciate it. But again, Karan Shakar, the gambling addiction affected the sport. It could you can't have players betting on their own sport. Look, I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. But I don't think Pete Rose should have been able to go back and play Major League Baseball if this would have all been figured out while he was playing baseball. Not good. It's just not good. I'm disappointed. Anyways, I do want to thank Buckeye Greg, Hoosier Cope, Reggie, Donnie McNerney, Eva Badger, Carla Jenkins, Curtis, Helmer Hennison, Cope once again, Helmer Hennison. I appreciate you, sir. $5 holla. Will the Big Ten, Helmer Henderson. Will the Big Ten wait for Southeastern Conference to grab ACC teams first to avoid torturous interference claims? Is it an issue this go around? No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think it is. Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, warned Sankey and Petiti of torturous interference. Don't mess with our schools. But that was before the ACC settlement occurred between Florida State and Clemson. Because of that settlement, I can tell you, I can report to you on this, there are first-party talks that have gone on. These talks don't have to be third-party talks because there is an exit fee, there's an exit hatch, there's a pathway out of the grant of rights. These schools can leave the ACC. Florida State can file a notice of withdrawal on or before June 1st, 2026 and join another conference in 2027. All they have to do is write a $147 million check or whatever the number is, have a landing spot. The ACC has to accept the check. So, no, I don't think that is I don't think that's an issue in this go-around. Answering your other question, will the Big Ten wait for the Southeastern Conference? I think the Big Ten is waiting on dominoes more than the Southeastern Conference. You know, I think the Big Ten is going to always continue until North Carolina says formally they're joining the SEC. The Big Ten is going to continue to target them. Of course, target Notre Dame, Virginia, Miami. So I don't think they're waiting on the SEC, but I think they're waiting for some planes to land or crash. And then when we find out all these planes that are landing or crashing, then we'll find out the rest of what is about to happen. I don't think anybody's waiting on the other. I do think the Southeastern Conference has the advantage of acting first. I think they have the ability to act first more than the Big Ten. How about that? I do appreciate all of you, your donations to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Of course, the great phone calls that we had. We had a great show tonight. We talked about Ross Dellinger. Big breaking news. The breakaway talks are intensifying, according to Ross Dellinger. They're not slowing down. They're not dying off. They're not leaking into the background. The breakaway talks are intensifying, getting more serious. This is the Big Ten week. Next week is Southeastern Conference week. There's going to be more stuff coming out of the Big Ten tomorrow and then Wednesday. Please stick with us here at College Football Peek Around the Corner. If you not have subscribed, If you have not subscribed yet to this independent national rebel outpost for college football sickos like you, please subscribe, ring that notification bell. If you've liked our content tonight, please smash the like button. Keep your head on a swivel. We can show up at any time with episodes, with live shows. We're covering everything in college football. I appreciate all of your support. We have grown we are 30 subscribers away from 6,000 subscribers. We were 600 subscribers away from 6,000 just 2 months ago. So thank you guys for all your support. You guys are growing the channel, word of mouth. I appreciate all of you. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, myself and the little general, to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family,